Sonic Shogakukan Manga Issue 3. So the cover shows us a character calling himself Charmy B, but he looks absolutely nothing like him aside from the bottom part. So really it's more like they just reused the name of the character. He says that he'll see to it that Eggman gets stung hard, establishing him as brave and proactive in a fight. And we're told that he pops out of the time box whenever there's a crisis. So he's useful and magical? Well, I'm intrigued. There's a reason I'm reviewing this before the reboot. We start out with the red biplane in the sky, and we're told that Nicky is enjoying his summer vacation, and today he's helping his father out. It's great that none of the stories have shown him in school. And he asks his father if he delivers this much mail every day, with a bunch of mail in his own seat. Well, it's good that, one, we see his father again, and two, the writing cares enough to fully establish what his job is that fills in the plot hole of how he's earning a living. Sonic's parents and Archie don't seem to have jobs. But what kind of... This sure is a strange planet if all the mail gets delivered by a biplane. I mean, it'd have to have ample amount of room to land every single time. It's so confusing that it looks like Nicky's in the seat in front of his father, but his father is flying the plane. So, how does he fly the plane? He'd have to be seeing over his son. Sonic says that he wants to do the same job as his father when he grows up. A pretty lazy decision on his part, since it means he doesn't have to think that hard, but it's a touching moment, as even his badass father sheds a tear, so we get depth to his character a little. In the first issue, the tone seems so dark, with Sonic getting beaten up and being a wuss, that I assumed when he talked about how his dad was tough and he wasn't, that his dad didn't like him because he was a wuss. So it's nice to see that his father actually likes him. He then surprises me by outright admitting it, saying that he can't contain his happiness when he says that. And he doesn't fly very well for a bit. Sonic says there's an old-looking treasure box with no address written on it. Well, that was stupid of whoever expected him to deliver it. Wait, is this a trap of Eggman's for Sonic? Then they scream, asking what is that thing, and I don't know either because the art is so terrible. The artist's art is so crude that it reminds me of Other M, except in color. Then it eats them and reveals itself to be a giant whale machine of Eggman's. You'd think it'd be obvious to Sonic's father after this that Eggman is targeting his son for a good reason since he's only known for bothering Sonic. So what does Nicky have to do with anything? It would be exciting to see his reaction to learning that Nicky turns into Sonic firsthand. It'd be resolving a potential plot thread. We see them being held in the hands of a big robot, and Eggman even reveals that he knows Sonic's father's name, of course, because of the rat. He has the robot throw his father, and he says that anyone subjected to his poorly named Eggman sucker will be unable to tell a lie. Oh, so he's assuming that Sonic's dad knows that Nicky turns into Sonic. Well, that was a fair assumption to make. But somehow, even Nicky doesn't know he becomes Sonic, even by this point. So no dice. But this would be a really dangerous, overly convenient device for Eggman, something like Archie or Sad AM, because then he could find Knothole. The Rick and Morty comic did a much better job explaining how a lie-preventing machine could work. He asks him his connection to Sonic, as I wonder why he didn't try it on Nicky in the first place. And when he gets a vague answer that shouldn't satisfy him, instead he just says, I guess I'll give it a go with the little one as well. Why wasn't that your first plan? Eggman wonders why Jules isn't coming out, and then Nicky turns into Sonic. If Eggman was smart, he would have installed a camera on this whale machine to catch this. And I'm confused about why just now Jules is out so that he can get excited over Sonic. I thought he was supposed to be a badass tough guy. Why is the manga portraying him like this already? Like, we need to see a lot more of him being a badass. It does make sense that Nicky teleported out of the robot's hand when you consider that we saw that Sonic could teleport when he's turned into his blue form in the violin issue, but it's still so convenient. Eggman is smart enough to drop Sonic into water, and yet he expects him to tell him the secret to its power, which he expects him to know. Sonic's underwater, how could he talk anyways? Why would he expect him to talk? At least he's glubbing, but he's still written to have some dialogue anyways. It's really confusing at first seeing Charmy stick his head out from the keyhole in the treasure box. Eventually I realized that he was in the treasure box that Nicky was holding. and so it makes sense to be in the area because he's a Chekhov's gunman. Plus, the cover completely spoiled that he would show up in the story. He complains that he was sleeping, and asks who's making all that noise, explaining why he wasn't being helpful until now. He was sleeping in the middle of the day for no reason. But why was he in that box? That's such a restricted place for him to live. It would have to be the portal to another dimension, and he's sleeping in it because it has his bed. But why would anyone go through the portal to another dimension every time they want to go to bed? He opens the box lid from the inside, and his alarm clock hands spin around quickly. And it throws Sonic's dad upwards as Eggman asks what this immense power is. I don't know, wind? I can't tell, it's being too vague. I was told it was a time box, but what does this have to do with time? He's not reversing time or stopping time. It's more like what would happen if someone took over the controls of the flying machine they're all in and made it fly weirdly. Because that would naturally send everyone in different directions. Eggman asks how Sonic got on top of the water bubble thing he was trapped in. Yeah, how? I shouldn't be resigned to the Deus Ex Machinas with him at this point. If it's because he can teleport, like he's shown before, he should have done that much sooner, the idiot. Charmy says that when the time box is opened, it can rewind time back to the moment before Sonic gets into a pinch. Oh, that's not overpowered at all. I wish I knew who made this time box. But on the bright side, it can be a great excuse for the writing to have more risky things happen, like characters being suddenly killed off, because they can just reverse it. He tells us that in the next issue we'll see Sonic's counterattack, but I won't because nobody cared enough to upload the next issue to YouTube. This is the final issue of the manga as far as I can tell. Why did the writer bother having Charmy break the fourth wall telling you about his time box if he wasn't going to use it? Why didn't he use it immediately if he had so little faith in Sonic? Him talking about the time box early is just spoiling the Deus Ex Machina. Spoiling the Deus Ex Machina doesn't make it any less of a Deus Ex Machina. There's still no reason why it should exist. At least Penders explained Charmy's origins. So did Fleetway eventually. This is a new interpretation of Charmy, and it's technically his first appearance. So I expected to have more of an explanation for him. This guy is so confusing that he needs an explanation more than anybody. I don't know where he comes from, why he has this time box, what his life is usually like. He's not a hyperactive brat at all. He's just a brave, proactive hero who sleeps in the middle of the day and can reverse time conveniently. So, is he the prince of a hive? I don't know. He doesn't even come off as a kid. This story was about Sonic and his dad getting captured during a mail-delivering biplane ride during, I guess, bring your kid to work day, but they should have explained that. And Sonic transforms and gets put in water, but Charmy is to check his gunman because he was in the treasure box Sonic had with him for no reason. I wish I knew why Sonic had that box. Who would want to give that up? It was such bullshit that Sonic teleported out of the water bubble, but we did see him teleport before. And it's inexcusable that the story ends without being resolved properly. This was a disappointment, but it was sweet to see Sonic's dad again, how he cares about his son. He could have so easily been a typical strong father who was embarrassed of his son for being such a wuss. I know that the TV Tropes page for the Sonic manga says that it has a link to the other mangas, and like apparently there's a collection of manga. I hope that when I click that link, it'll take me to English translations of the manga that weren't on YouTube, because otherwise, I'm not going to be able to review the rest of the manga. While I always looked forward to reviewing these issues because the manga is so different from the rest of Sonic, it's not that different from Sonic X, where the real main character is a wimp instead of simply Sonic because the Japanese think we can only relate to someone like that. And it's still better than X because there's way less boring human characters taking up time. And the setting is actually interesting, with constant festivals going on and nothing but animals, instead of being Earth. I was told Nicky was very kind in the first issue, but I don't remember any time he was, and being a wimp has been his only personality, which is annoying because he gets put through so much and you keep feeling bad for him, even if it is effective in making him sympathetic and relatable while he's suffering. It's obvious though that they should have just had him always look like Sonic, and had Sonic have sympathetic moments sometimes, instead of separating him into humiliated Sonic and creator's pet Sonic. And Amy's only personality is that she's a cheerful girl who I don't trust not to break up with Nicky because she wants to be with Sonic instead, and even she has to force herself not to laugh at him. And she wants him to be someone he's not because she encourages him to fight back against Anton at the start. I know she wouldn't be ready to break up with him because it'd be too sad, unless they were really desperate for a rating stunt that wouldn't last. But she doesn't come off as someone who actually loves Nikki. I haven't been shown why she does, so I can only assume she's only dating him because she's desperate. So if that's Amy's first appearance, then wow. I expected her to be just like the Flanderized Games Amy, going after Sonic like a crazed fangirl because that's a cliche in anime. But this wasn't good either. She's usually just there to be a passive, scared victim of Anton, being just as helpless as Nikki is, which at least gives her something in common with them. And she's a generic, cheerful girl most of the time, just like Tanya. They could have just had Tanya. So what was the point of making her Sonic's girlfriend? They never say they love each other, or even hug. I don't even remember her kissing him. She's more in love with Sonic in his blue form, and never shows that she's in love with Nikki. And he's always upset about it. So they could have just translated her as just his friend, and I don't think there'd be a difference. I don't think it'd make the plot confusing. Aside from them going on a gondola ride together, what was the benefit to her being his girlfriend if they barely showed any chemistry together, even as good friends?